of the readings by, they interview Greenberg, right? Joseph Greenberg. In that reading, they mention a lot of things that we haven't covered. So over here, I want to show you something about language grouping, language families, and how do we identify language family as such. Look at this chart. Okay? This is roughly a history of human migration, and you can tell from the years. Over here you have 100,000 years. Over here you have 50 to 60,000 years. So you know it must have started from here, moving to this way, and then further on to here, and then going to this continent, etc. Okay, so suppose you believe in this, then usually we think the first stage of human language started in Africa. In Africa. And I will tell you why I say this. Okay, this is what have been verified to some degree from different methods, not just linguistically. And I'm going to show you different methods that people try to do this. Okay, so you start from Africa here, and the second stage, it moved to Arabian Peninsula over here. The third stage, come here, Mesopotamia. You know where it is? That's where the two rivers, the valley of the two rivers. Okay, Babylon. I believe it's in that area. Yeah. Have you come across this name in history? Okay. Now, the fourth stage, you move on to South Asia, and then going to China, and then finally to Europe. See here? And then to America, and finally to Oceania. That's where is Oceania? Australia?
Yeah, Australia, New Zealand, and I think New Guinea.
Papua New Guinea.
And all those small islands in the ocean.
Yeah, very good. Okay, Oceania. Okay, so this is more or less the path of how humans migrate. Okay, they started from Africa and then spread out. How do we know? How do we know? You know, we try to trace it through languages, through whatever remains in history, from archaeology, findings, from more advanced genetic studies. Okay, see. So, one of the formats is to study human genes. Okay, although human genes and the language, they are not bequeathed in the same way, but they proceed in a series of population splits, because people, through intermarriages, because if you move to one place, you probably marry people from that place, and that would leave trace in your genes. And by the blood test, do some sort of investigation, they could find out from the distribution of your genes what kind of history you might have gone through in your family. So that's one kind of format to study how human migrates or how languages are spread out. And this kind of people who are doing this kind of gene studies called population geneticists. And they contribute a lot to the evolution of language. That's because of the new technological advance, especially in medicine. Okay, even right now in Taiwan, when we try to trace the history of the Taiwan Formosan tribes, we believe that they are one of the founders for what you call the Austronesian groups, but we have to find out the path they have migrated into South Asia or into other places, and we do this by population, with the help of population geneticists. This was so popular some 10 years ago in Taiwan. There was a hospital called Mackay Hospital, and there was a researcher by the name of Lin Ma Li. She has done so much trying to establish the path of the Taiwan Formosan people and their migration path. However, you don't see that very often now. Why? Even with the American Indian people, there was a big dispute about 1 year or 2 years ago. They was trying to find out the ancestry, or how these American Indian people, their history in terms of their migration or in terms of their history. But it was not strongly encouraged nowadays. Can you guess the reason?
Because they would have to dig up the bones?
No, they are alive.
Oh, okay.
No, it's not. Yeah, they're alive human beings, so why? Because nowadays when you do research, you have to make sure that your subjects are well protected for ethical reasons. So a lot of people, they are, especially the Taiwan Formosan tribes, they are given this kind of idea that nobody is entitled to take away your blood and do research to see what your ancestry come from, or how, what your background could be. And because of that, there were a lot of disputes and even legal suits. And nowadays, a lot of researchers, they are discouraged from doing this kind of research. And from my point of view, I think it's a pity, because I don't know what you could lose by being taken, 2 cc of your blood. What difference is it going to make? I don't know, but people think this is so important. Same thing with the American Indian tribes, when the case was even more dramatic. It happened in one of the journals. They published a paper about American Indian languages, and the sample was taken from a previous study by another person, but without getting the permission. Okay, they are just using the sample twice without getting the so-called informed consent from the people whose blood were taken from. So they had this lawsuit about the researchers. So now we are very careful in doing any kind of research that may be related to human privacy, human background, because you have protect you want to be protected by signing the so-called informed consent so that the study can be carried on. This used to be only in the medical field, but gradually, I'm sure, in anthropology, in other fields, in social sciences, in humanities, we have the obligation to protect the subjects. Okay? So in other words, this kind of research, although very effective and although very valuable, I don't know how it's going to continue. Okay? It's kind of sad. And then in the reading, you must have also seen that the author mentioned the so-called core vocabulary. Core vocabulary. Okay? How many numbers are there in the core vocabulary? Different scholars have different numbers. For example, for Taiwan Formosan tribes, one leading scholars in Taiwan think the number is 160. But in the reading, you have seen they mentioned 300. And in another reading, you may come across the number of 210. I don't think what matters is the numbers. What matters is the concept of the so-called core vocabulary. The core vocabulary are vocabulary that would always be there. Okay, and you can sort of detect the language grouping by the kind of core vocabulary you can come up with, or you can find out. The core vocabulary in this list, there are 210. And they could divide it into different meaning groups, different categories. Okay, they will have some basic adjectives, some names for the animal, body part, colors, direction, and if you see direction, it's all the so-called preposition, or sort of. Numbers, people, plants, other categories, other nouns, other verbs, etc. What I want you to pay attention to is for this direction thing. We put down here about, far, near, whatever. These are English examples. That's why you see the category of preposition. However, not all direction in all languages are given by preposition. For example, do we have anyone from Hawaii? Okay, if you are in Hawaii and you want to ask for direction, you say, I want to go to Waikiki. People will not tell you go south, go north, go east, and 2 blocks, and turn right on the second traffic line. Nobody will tell you that. They will just tell you, oh, okay, go to the ocean side or go to the mountain side. Their direction are just these 2. Yes, and even when you speak English, because if you live there long enough, people won't tell you go east, west, south. No. It's always mountain side or ocean side. 2 directions. And in a lot of Formosan languages in Taiwan, we don't use prepositions at all. There's no preposition as such. That's just the idea I was trying to tell you. Not every languages have the same resources to express the same thing, but they always have alternatives. Okay? So not every languages use prepositions as such, but they always have alternatives. Okay? So these are just English examples. Make it easier for me to explain the ideas to you. Why are these so important, especially the plants? For example, the plants. The plants are very important because from the kind of plants available in the core vocabulary, you can have a sense of the geographical or of the climate where these people once lived or once belonged to. Okay? So these core vocabulary are important in this sense. That's why in the reading you come across with the so-called core vocabulary. This is just a sample of the core vocabulary. You don't have to memorize this, but at least you should have an idea of what they are talking about. Okay, and another method is by multilateral comparison. That's what Joseph Greenberg was talking about. So according to him, in the reading, he mentioned 300 core vocabulary or core words. And then he saw themselves into clusters representative of their historical development, more or less like what I talked to you about the plants or the food they eat or they use or they plant. So some people are against his idea. They raise the question. They say the world changes so rapidly, so quickly. They can hardly preserve any ancestry older than 5,000 years ago. That was a challenge that he has to face. And what did he say? He said certain items in language are extremely stable, like personal pronouns or parts of the human body. So they are always things. That's why they are called core. These things can hardly be changed. Okay, as long as you're human beings, you have the body parts, and you need the language. You need the lexical items to refer to those body parts. And as long as you live in a certain climate, in a certain geographical area, you can only grow so many things. For example, one of the core vocabulary in Taiwan for the Formosan tribes is a kind of fruit or plant, depending on how you want to call it. Can you guess what it is? It's not rice. It's sugar cane. Sugar cane. Okay? How many of you do not know sugar cane or do not grow sugar cane in the place where you grow up? See? So the climate and the geographical area says a lot about the kind of thing you have. Sugarcane is a very important lexical item in Taiwan Formosan languages. It's shared by all tribes because it's an important plant or fruit in this area. Okay, for animal, what is very important in the Taiwan Formosan group? Cockroach. Okay, cockroaches. For those of you who were raised or born in the States, probably cockroach is not such a nuisance. You hardly see them, right? Is that true? For people from California, from the state? I once lived in Hawaii, and I moved so often. I have moved at least 10 apartments in Hawaii. Why? Every time I come across cockroaches in my apartment, I'll tell my husband it's about time to move again, okay? Because cockroaches, they're so rampant everywhere, okay? And here, do you see them? Yes, okay, because it's tropical. So even the animals and the food and the plants, they say a lot about what the place was like or where these people have been moving from, okay? And another method is by sound correspondences, or by reconstructing the sound. For example, we know we have some German speaker here, and we have many people who speak Latino languages, okay? And one of the sound rule is called the Grimm's law, and you could see this P to F changes. So you have seen here a list of non-Germanic borrowed from the Latino languages. You have paternity, and the P becomes F in English, father. We still use this word in English, but these words are coming from the Latino root, okay, the Latin languages. We have the word Pisces, and now it's fish. We have pentagon. Why is penta means 5, right? Why is that? Because you have that Latin language, you borrow from the Latin, the non-Germanic language. So P to F never changes, not just in the Western languages, because I'm going to show you it also happened in the Chinese language. Because P to F, if you consider these two sounds in terms of their place of articulation or even manner of articulation, there are so many similarities. How do you say P? How do you pronounce P? P. It's a bilabial sound, right? Bilabial sound. You have to use 2 lips in order to pronounce P. Can you say P without using your lips? When I was a graduate student, my linguist teacher once, he said, okay, now let me test you. Can you say banana 3 times without moving your lips? He was my linguistic teacher, right? So, and we were linguistic students, so we tried so hard to say banana 3 times without moving our lips. Do it. So everybody was doing try to say banana without moving your lips. And then finally we made all kinds of strange sounds, but the teacher said no. And we said, okay, teacher, do it. So the teacher do it. How? Banana 3 times without moving your lips. You get it? Okay, it's a language play, okay? So you cannot say P without moving your lips. It would be impossible, okay? And P is a bilabial sound. What is F? Labial dental, because you need. So for those old people of old age, when we go to the tribes, we have some informants who are very old, who have lost their front teeth. It will be so hard for them to say F for us properly, because they don't have the upper teeth, even though they still have lower lips. But can you say F without having your upper teeth? It would be very hard. It would come out differently. It would be more like an H sound or whatever, right? Okay, so these two share the similarity of being labial. One, you have to use 2 lips. The other one, you at least have to use 1 lip. And also, in terms of their manner of articulation, they have some similarity. So this is not just what you have come across from in English according to the Grimm's law. I will show you. I'll move ahead first. Okay, let me go back to this. Okay, let's look at this first. Even in the Chinese language families, we have this word. This is called, can someone who read Chinese pronounce it for me? Fang. Okay, it's an F sound. Okay, F initial. Fang mean fragrant. Okay, fragrant. And in Chinese, in Taiwanese Southern Min, do we have Southern Min speakers here? Okay, if something is very fragrant, how do you say that? Pang. Okay, so these two, actually, they come from the same source. But in Taiwanese Southern Min, you pronounce it as Pang, initial P. But in Mandarin, you say Fang, initial sound is F. So you have this P to F change. Why? Why is it the Taiwanese keeps the P and the Mandarin becomes F? F is a later development, right? You would have to go into the history, because in China, the Taiwanese group or the Hokkien group, they were immigrants from the northern China when, what's the year? It's what, 700 AD or something? After the Tang Dynasty, there were some tribes invading China. So a lot of people moved down south. So one of these people moved down to Fujian, south, Canton, also in the southern province. And these people, they don't have a lot of contact with the northern people again. So they developed their own languages. One of them being the kind of Southern Min we are speaking nowadays in Taiwan. So we keep the ancient pronunciation. We keep the Pang pronunciation. But the Mandarin in the northern part, they have contacts from different places. And that P has been changed into an F sound. So even in Chinese, you can see this kind of similarity, this kind of sound correspondences. I just want to tell you that the P to F sound change is not just unique to the Germanic languages. Okay? Okay, so let me go back a little bit. So we are doing this sound correspondence thing. Regular rules governs how word changes as one language morphs into another. So the P to F is this kind of sound correspondences. Sound change regularity is regular. So sound grouped by inductive method, and you can use this kind of rules, this kind of regularity to reconstruct the Proto or the ancient languages. So P in Austro-Indo-European become F in Germanic and English. Okay, that's exactly the kind of change we have just seen now. Okay, finally, this is the map showing you all kinds of language families in the world. And you can easily find this if you Google it. What I want to tell you is the reason why we have all these families is because we have linguists, we have anthropologists, we have population geneticists to help us to reconstruct the path of their migration, or to so that you can group. For example, the linguists try to use the sound correspondence regularity to reconstruct family groups, and for Indo-European, they can reconstruct into, over here you can see Slavic languages, Germanic languages, for example, Italic languages, etc. They are all using the sound correspondence principle behind in order to do this.